Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me well? Should we start now? Should we wait?
I think we're going to start now. So welcome, Martin. Yeah.
Thanks so much for Sophie and Benoit for the awesome talk on DataVis. It's even better because I'm not really going to talk about DataVis. So I think it's cool, like, you guys got like the first part about DataVis, and then I'm just talking about something else. Yeah, so my name is Martin. I'm a data scientist at Airbnb. I'm usually in San Francisco, but I'm here to renew my visa, thanks to the new president in the US. And yeah, I'm going to talk about like scaling knowledge at Airbnb, and hopefully you get something interesting. I'm going to do this like in a few parts. So first, like introduction, just like to set up the stage about like what we do at Airbnb, what's the data science team about. Then I'm going to talk about like languages, like what we use and what we build to actually like scale like the work and our productivity as data scientists at Airbnb. Then I'm going to talk about like the knowledge repository, which is like a shared platform to share knowledge at Airbnb. And the last thing is like Superset, which is like a data exploratory platform we built, at Airbnb. How many of you don't know about Airbnb? All right, cool. So yeah, okay. So you know about the product. So yeah, Airbnb is like massive success. So I don't need like to introduce. Like Airbnb is under like a massive growth. This is the cumulative guest arrival of Airbnb since like it started in 2008. And you see that we just reached last year 150 million guest arrival worldwide. And this is just like like training and again. So we're just like really growing very fast. We have a lot of data. 1 billion events tracked every day on our platform. 18 petabytes of data on HDFS, and around like 100 data scientists and 50 data engineers working on the platform. So there is a lot of people, and I guess like it's a really data informed. I worked for like other companies before, and this is a very data driven and very data informed company. Meaning like any insight, any decisions you make are really driven by data. And as we grew, our team grew as well. So it started like with 1 data scientist back in 2008, and now we are like more than 100 data scientists, in the team. You might think like it's a lot of people, but actually it's not enough. Like we keep having more questions and more, as we grow. And so there is like needs to scale on the people side, but also on the product side. And so we are going to see like how we are scaling the infrastructure and the product to make sure like we are the highest impact as possible. Data scientists don't scale. Like this is the Harvard Business Review in May 2015. If you have like a bigger company with like bigger questions, a bigger goal, well, you need to hire more people. And the idea is like you can actually scale the work by just investing in the product and in tooling. And so for this, we build like a lot of tools all the time. And so we build those tools and we open source them. So you can check at airbnb.io. You can see all the tools we have. It's both on the engineering side as on the data side. And I'm going to spend a bit of time to talk about like few products for the data science team. First one is languages. So this is a graph from like we did a survey for like all the data scientists. Like what do you use? Is it more R? Is it more Python? Is it something else? And most people use like a mix of both. So like R and Python. Pretty confident with like their tooling. So this is the survey for like for R. And we use this for like a bunch of use cases. So it could be like product insights. So just want to start from a data set and then just like answer some questions around like different questions we have. So it's very exploratory. It could be about experimentation. So we have like, I think right now, I checked this morning, we have like 400 experiments running, like A/B testing, we're running in the product right now. So you need to, when you launch a feature all the time, you're just like doing experiments. And so you need to sometimes do like, backup analysis on this. And modeling. So a lot of like machine learning and stuff. So, so R and Python can be used for both. Ton of use case, ton of stuff. Like if you are interested, like you can check like the Medium post on the Airbnb engineering team, medium.com/Airbnb-engineering. There's both like post on the engineering, at Airbnb as well as like data science, interesting things. All right. So to really scale like the way we use our languages, so both on R and Python, we built those like packages for R, which is Airbnb, as really smart. And then Python is called AirPy, right? And so those packages are just like bundle of like a bunch of functions that we all use at Airbnb. And everyone at Airbnb is actually encouraged to develop their own functions. And so we have like more than 100 functions, based on those packages. And what's really nice with this is like you have a consistent API to access remote data and to just like run your analysis. So here, very simple. I'm just like installing the library Airbnb, and then I can just like query the server where all the data is actually stored. And so I can just like really easily just like do like a SQL query, ping the server, then the server run the query, and then return the data, and then I can start working with this. So it's very easy, and it means that when you write code, this code is actually reproducible. So anybody in the company can use the same code and run the same query, and the same time just like having some results, meaning that you have the same stuff for everybody. We have this kind of set of like branded visualizations. So it means we have the same branded kind of theme we develop. And it's pretty fun because like we did this for Facebook, for Uber, etc., and they are all using the same kind of branded visualization we made for them. Yeah, so this is like the first part where all the tooling for like the tool we are using this kind of sets of like libraries to really scale the work for like data scientists. The other problem you have is like when you start working, then you have this kind of knowledge problem, which is true for like any company or any organization. When you start having like many people working on your company, knowledge is really spread across different forms. So it could be like emails, that could be like presentation, that could be like a Google Drive, that could be like anything where you just like run analysis and you share this across the platform. And so as we scale the product, and now Airbnb is like 3,000 people, like you had this issue where knowledge is not in a central kind of place. And so we built this tool called the Knowledge Repository, which is like a bunch of like both like a web app, so anybody in the company can access this, a command line interface, meaning that from your language you can actually like create what we call a knowledge post. And the knowledge post is kind of a mix between like a blog post, a source code, where you have all the code I described earlier, and some kind of academic journal. So the data science team is really like inspired by like what the work of like academia, and really for me like academia in the future should be a big knowledge repository where everything is just like stored, and you can actually access those like those information, and you can reproduce everything. It's both reproducible, which is important for like data science, and it's always peer reviewed. So every time you're just like contributing to knowledge repository, there is somebody else reviewing your work, and once this is reviewed, then you can merge to the knowledge repository. So it looks like this, very simple. You have all those like different posts. It's searchable, so you have like a search bar at the top. You can put some tags. You can search like by title, by So anytime you just like you're new in the company and you start working at Airbnb and you want to know about like what's booking about, or what's like public policy about, you can just search, and then you have all those like posts coming up. This is what a post looks like. So you can see it's some kind of a blog post, but it's a mix again with like a blog post, and you have the source code, so you can actually reproduce the code itself and run your own analysis. Yeah, so we have around like 1,000 posts in the knowledge repository right now. 300 weekly active users at Airbnb, so it's pretty cool project, and it's open. So open source, github.com/airbnb/knowledge-repo. So you can use this for your own organization. If you want to set this up, I would encourage like any company that's have like data and wants to use this, like to actually go and check on GitHub. I'm not sure like about the time, but 10 more minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to be like way shorter than I thought. Yeah, last one, Superset. So Superset is like, how many of you know Tableau software? Cool. So this is Tableau software, free and open source, basically. Pretty cool, right? And so, and we build this, ourselves. So really, the idea behind this is like you can explore your data. So you can just like connect to like any database you have at Airbnb. So first to explore, and then to create like interactive dashboards, something kind of similar to what Sophie and Ken Benoit, less beautiful of course, but something very very simple. You can actually start create and then share to like somebody, and it really takes from like the moment you want to do something to the moment you share your analysis. It takes like 10 seconds. It's really fast. And for me, I use Tableau like a lot. It really replaced Tableau like the way I use it. So the idea, like the vision behind, is really like to transform any database you have into any visualization, basically. And so we use it a lot for like at Airbnb for because like our backend is like using Presto, which is like Presto is developed by Facebook, just like a querying interface for like HDFS, really fast. And Druid, which is like a vertical database, really fast also for aggregating like a lot of data. So we use this for like real-time events, like all the stuff. I'm sure like folks at Algolia might know Druid. And the idea is like Superset is really like in the middle, transforming all this kind of abstraction of like all those database, and then transforming this to any visualization you can actually think about. So it's that easy. Basically, just like you have a table, you just like click on source, and you add a table in your database, and then you're set, and you can start doing some visualization. So this is like a, I mean, this is, and then you can just like be inspired by the. I'm not sure this is the most beautiful one, but this is one table you can do. This is like some stuff with like the world's bank data. You can check like on the page I'm going to share. We have maps. We have Sankey diagram. We have like just, you name it. You just like you name it. Yeah, and you can also develop your own ones, which is like again this kind of abstraction, which is interesting. Yeah, this is the view of like the interface. Your data source here, a bunch of like parameters you can tweak, and then you hit query, and then your graph is just there. And then so this is like a slice, so one part of the visualization, and then you can combine those slices into one main dashboard. Then you can share. Yeah, I mean, all online, so you can just share a URL for like your folks, Sankey diagram, line graph, etc. The other thing that's nice with like Superset was named before Caravelle, hence the name, but it's also come with like a SQL like editor interface, which is nice because at Airbnb everyone can access this SQL editor. So meaning like everyone can run this their own query to answer their own questions, which is pretty cool. And we also combine this with like a data university kind of school where you can learn about SQL if you never heard about. Again, like a bunch of features, like you can run like you have different tabs. There's like autofilling. There's like interesting stuff. Stack, Python backend, using pandas for those who love Python. For which analytics. It's in Flask for the front end, like a lot of like JavaScript, React, D3, NVD3. All those pretty stuff, and it's open. So again, if you're interested, like it's open, you can use it. 13,000 stars. It's start to be like pretty legit. Yeah, and it's called Superset. And that's all. That's all I have. So if you have any questions.
How different from Jupyter Notebook is Knowledge Repo?
Different from what, sorry?
From Jupyter
Notebooks? Yeah. Excellent question. It's a Jupyter Notebook, basically. So you just start with a Jupyter Notebook, and then you have a command line interface where you can just like submit the Jupyter Notebook into the knowledge repository. So I didn't go into like details for like the knowledge repository, but basically the way it works is like you start locally with your work, so both in R and Python. So it could be R Markdown for R, or it could be like a IPython notebook for like a Python. You do your analysis, you do your different queries, you find something amazing, and then you just like submit this into the knowledge repository, which is basically a GitHub repo, right? So you submit as a new branch. You open a pull request, so you have all your code, all your post is actually there, and you ask for peer reviews. And then you have this kind of system of like peer reviews with your data scientist friends, which is amazing because then your work is actually peer reviewed by different folks. Once it's reviewed and it's actually stamped, then you can merge it, and it's transformed into like a post, one of the ones that you actually seen. Yeah, so basically this is the way it works. Also, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Marty Daniel 4, if you're interested into those learning more about data and stuff. But the knowledge repo is really amazing. I mean, if you have a really like a company and you want to create feedback, etc. I also think like just like a consulting company could be just like you can just sell the knowledge repository. I mean, just like installing it to this company is such like a productivity gain. Yeah.
Does everyone use the knowledge repository? Or is it like how many machine learning people or?
Yeah. So it's 300 weekly active users. Oh, sorry. So the question was like around the usage of the knowledge repository, and so the question is like, who uses it? Yeah. So the knowledge repository, really, the goal is like for anybody in the company to use it. So it's used by like mostly product folks. So product managers, designers, marketing, like any functions can actually go and check like the knowledge repository. Also, the way like as a data scientist, like your work is basically to create like a knowledge repo, like a post, and then you share this work with all the different stakeholders you can have. But yeah, to answer the question, like anybody. But right now, like there is only like 300 weekly active users, which means like it's not everybody checking every week knowledge repository, which makes sense.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.